Hey guys, Monica Dew here, a coach for Team POW Academy. I am here today to talk you quickly through some items that we have spoken about on our Monday night cycling school on what we would pack into our wet bags for a race. Now we are fast approaching the cycling season. I cannot believe it is the end of January so far, and I'm very quickly going to run through some wet weather, warm weather, general cycling essentials that us as coaches at Team POW we would recommend packing into a wet bag for those days where you do not know if the weather is going to take a huge turn for the worst. We will start with the main essential that if it's a torrential downpour, this is what I would need to have. So first up, the all-important essential, a standard rain cape for the weather if it turns nasty. It doesn't need to be a heavy rain cape, one that is very simple to put on out of if you're collecting something from a team car, or if you're collecting something from the side of the road, from like as a flyer, if you're needing to just take a jacket and someone hands one out the side of the road. Yeah, it needs to be able to roll up pretty small, so I would suggest like a really tight roll, and it can easily go in your back pocket. I mean, that's not the neatest in the world, but it can easily go into your back pocket and yeah, be accessible, and it's super easy to whap on when the weather gets pretty grim and pretty nasty, and it's just another warm layer as well, and something that's quite lightweight. So that is my first essential item that is going to go into my wet bag. Next up, I think it is super important to always have like a warm weather jacket. Now a lot of these races people will be choosing to wear skin suits or really thin jerseys. I know that now the equipment and kit has done leaps and bounds within the cycling industry. It is so lightweight, so aerodynamic, and it can be pretty chilly if you get caught out on those nasty days. So an item I would always include would be like a thicker winter jacket. This is my own that I wear in the winter. Yeah, super good. Like, it's a fleecy material on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's fleecy on the inside, and it's just super warm. Again, it's quite lightweight, and you want it to be lightweight because, again, if you are grabbing it from the side of the road, if you are grabbing it from a team car, this is an item that will need to instantly keep you warm. Be that kind of like nice soft material on the inside, but kind of like a soft shell material on the outside will be the perfect layer. Put on top if it's not quite rain weather, but you just need that extra warmth. I would always recommend a winter jacket. Then again, on top of that, thinking if it was really cold, again, and I love this kind of layer as just a layer when you're not needing like something super thick, but you're needing to keep your core warm. Now we all know that when we have a cold core, the rest of our body just goes into absolute shutdown mode. So I think that a really warm core will just keep your entire body warm. So that is why I would always opt for a gilet, I think, of any form. Here I have a like neoprene one, and it tends to be like more of a rain specific one, and that's just my personal preference. I would always go for something that was going to kind of kill two birds with one stone, that was always going to like cover the rain aspect of things and also keep you warm. The only downside of neoprene, as we all know, is that it's only really good in the rain. So if it wasn't a rainy forecast, I would pack a gilet again, but it would be like a cotton material, like more of a gilet warmer rather than a rain warmer, just because you don't want to be adding another layer that's going to be a negative factor to your racing in that race, where like, you know, like overheating or anything like that. You don't want to be having to like take it off if you're overheating, whereas a cotton one would kind of keep you warm but eliminate that overheating element of it. So yeah, a gilet is the next item I would pack. The next after that is like a double whammy of arm warmers and leg warmers. Now I would always pack a spare pair of arm warmers in any race bag, in a wet bag that's going to go in the car, in the feed, or whether I just thought it was like a summer race, I would always have a pair of arm warmers and leg warmers at the bottom of my bag. I think they're a really vital piece of kit that a lot of people forget about. Even if you're wearing a skin suit and you think, right, okay, I'm going to put a gilet on, put arm warmers on top of a skin suit long sleeve, just to kind of keep you warm because your arms are the first thing that's like stuck out. So yeah, I would always opt for them. Leg warmers, again, I think it's super important. Like, we always tend to say that we don't like get our legs out below like 15-16 degrees, and racing early season in the UK or Belgium or anywhere, you are not going to be hitting temperatures like 15-16 degrees. So I would always opt for packing pre-race or in a wet bag a pair of leg warmers. They are a fantastic essential for just keeping you warm. Something that even you can wear to the start line, take off, put back in your wet bag, and give to a team manager or something, or a parent stood at the side of the road. They're just a really good essential layer that I would always make sure I've got packed. So that is arm warmers and leg warmers going in next. Then I would always say your more like warmer essential pieces. So toe warmers, I would always pack a pair of toe warmers into a bag, purely for the fact that when you've got cold feet or cold hands, you are seriously in trouble. They're like something that a lot of people neglect. Everybody's like, oh, layer up, layer up, layer up. But like, if your hands are cold and your feet are cold, or you've got that material of equipment wrong, you are so in trouble, and it's just going to really distract your mind from where your mind needs to be on the racing and what's going on. So I would always opt for a pair of toe warmers. Then I would always go for a thinner pair of gloves, like more of a cottony thinner pair, but again quite tight to your hands, so it's keeping you warm. I would always opt for a pair of them. And then also I would always include, even if there was no rain on the schedule, I was always include a pair of neoprene gloves. I just think they're fantastic for when it is raining. Like, neoprene is the most brilliant material for when it does get super cold and wet, but again, they are not the best when it's not raining. So I would always opt to have 2 pairs of gloves into a wet bag, so that one for definite rain and one for just like cold and needing to keep warm, or potentially putting on top of another pair of thin layers just as an extra layer to that. Then again, I would go for a buff. I think buffs are fantastic. I always wear my buff in the winter. I just think, again, it's another way of keeping your neck warm. Again, it avoids injury and illness. You know, if you're getting this sort of like chest, throat area cold after the race, if it's been really bad and you've exerted your body to like the nth degree, then you're going to be in trouble. Like, recovering is not going to be quite as easy for you. So yeah, a buff is always super good. It also, like, if you put it up over your mouth like this, it also again like puts like a preventative layer up between you and the elements. You know, I know that racing in Belgium in the winter, or even the UK, can be really like mucky. The roads aren't that clean, like you've got a lot of spray on the road, whereas a buff can be like a really good barrier between yourself and potentially getting really ill off the back of it. So yeah, I would always pack a spare buff into my wet bag, or even just into a kit bag pre-race. Now this one is where I've kind of got like a male and a female option. A lot of male riders tend to wear cap. We see it in the pro peloton, they wear caps in the winter. It's a really good way of, if the weather gets really bad, you can put the peak down and it kind of creates that nice barrier, because obviously our vision and our eyesight in racing is vital, and if that weather gets nasty, you need to be able to kind of put a barrier again between yourself and the elements. So I do think a cap is a fantastic way of, one, keeping you warm. A lot of caps nowadays come quite low over your ears. I will demonstrate for you. So that would be down, your helmet would be on top, and you can see there is not much room for any muck or anything going in. And also this one is quite low on the ears, so again it acts like a warmer essentially to your head. So that's really good. But then as a female option, I don't know if any other female riders out there have the same experience as me, but when I wear my hair in a plait, like here, the cap tends to sit on it quite funny and it gets like really uncomfortable. So an option to avoid that but also still keep you warm would be a headband, like a nice stretchy headband that that looks fantastic, doesn't it? And I do sometimes double these up, like I'll wear 2 of them, one on top of another, and again that just keeps your ears really well sheltered. It's just a good female hack, I suppose, to not, like, the cap not get in the way of your bobble on your plait. The next one is a good pair of clear lenses. Don't we all? I hate clear lenses. I honestly don't really like them, but they are so vital in the winter if we are doing dark, dingy, grim, cold, horrible UK, Belgium, whatever races you are doing, cyclocross, where like it's dark and the mud's splatting up. A spare pair of clear lenses, you cannot go wrong. Our vision in bike racing is so so critical, like if you're missing moves, if you're like overlapping wheels because of the lens being too dark. Clear lenses is always a really safe bet to go. So Joey Walker and Ali Slater, our other coaches, they also would opt for a yellow lens, and Joey had a really good hack actually, that wearing a yellow lens kind of gives you a little bit of morale in the race as well. When it's a little bit dingy and it's a little bit dark, like that yellow tint on the lens just brightens everything up and just gives you a bit more of that like sunshine feel, I guess, which I thought was a really nice tip and trick to kind of like keep that morale going through the race. So yeah, that's a tip from Joey Walker, that he would always opt for a yellow lens. Yellow, clear, anything like that, just something that's going to keep that vision completely clear, but again, protect your eyes from the elements. I would always be wearing a pair to start in, and I would always have a spare pair of clear lenses, or again, yellow like we've discussed. But yeah, that's another really good piece of equipment that we would have in a wet bag. Last but not least, and I don't think a lot of people would think to have this in, and probably something that you could miss, and maybe something that people might not have spares of, now that is shoes. I know a lot of people might only have one pair of shoes, and that's absolutely fine, like whatever you can have, that's fantastic. But if you were fortunate enough to have 2 pairs of shoes, always pack a spare pair of shoes into your kit bag. It's always worth it. Any disasters that come on the start line, if one of the boa breaks or if your cleat comes loose, like you're able to just change shoes instantly and you can still ride and race your bike that day. So I think that's a really cool tip to have in place. It gets rid of that whole pre-race stress, the delaying, the adding another element of like, oh my god, my shoe's broken, what am I gonna do? If you're lucky enough to have 2 pairs of shoes, always pack 2 pairs of shoes. And again, one very last thing that I think a lot of people would be like, oh my god, do I really need that? But you wait until you get caught out and then you'll be like, oh my god, I wish I had my cleats. That is pedals and cleats. Anything that goes wrong on your bike, like you are still able to ride and race that bike, again like the shoe situation, if you have spare pedals packed in your bag. Again, this is a really good habit to get into, you know, like in races, you never know if you're gonna clip bikes with other people, wheels over clip, overlap, you never know what happens in a racing incident, and you never know if something may damage your pedal. So yeah, always having a spare pair of pedals, and again, please excuse the messiness of my cleats, but a spare pair of cleats as well, and also like extra bolts for the bottom of your cleats, because they are the first thing that suffers from wear and tear, that you may not kind of think before the race. Even if any of this madness does happen, you are still able to get to that start line and race your bike and have a good time. That is my very quick summary of what myself and the boys would pack into a wet bag. Yeah, if you've got any comments or you've got any questions for us, please drop in the comments down below. Hopefully that's a little insight into what we would pack when we were racing our bikes, and some tips and tricks along the way for making you have a very successful race day. So I hope that's useful. All the information and links to the social media and everything are down below in the description. So yeah, if you could give Team Pow a follow on Instagram, I will leave that on the screen down here. I will see you in the next video to discuss some more racing tips and tricks. So I'll see you then.